With the release of Remake back in 2020, it has me thinking, what if they did the thing? Okay, so I, much like some of you, have been kicking around the idea of the possibility of a remake of KH1 and 2 in the Unreal Engine 4 and what that would look like. And for me, I think it makes the most sense to do that. So here's my thoughts on what I think would make sense to do in a remake. Now, when it comes to overall changes, I'm looking more towards cosmetic and quality of life stuff, like cutscene to gameplay transitions, blocking and using items in midair, boss phase checkpoints, prepare and retry options, stuff like that. For KH2, I'm just not gonna open a can of worms with the combat, save for a few things, but KH1 needs a lot of work. Okay, so with that little caveat out of the way, here's what I'd like to see in a remake of the first 2 numbered installments. Yes, this is what you're getting this week. I've been working on a big thing and my computer broke, so I need to get back in the swing of things. Okay, first off, let's look into the smaller things that each game shares and its faults. Because, yeah, they both have similar problems. Right out the gates, those cutscenes that have those plastered on lip flaps. God, that looks awful. I know why this happens, technical limitation, but seriously, look at this cutscene where Sora finds Riku in Traverse Town.
What's going on?
Riku!
Hey, cut it out.
I'm not dreaming this time. Right?
I hope not. Took forever to find you.
Riku!
It flip-flops from the actual mouths with teeth to the flaps so often it hurts my soul. Second is that I think the level design is serviceable in both games, but maybe more secrets or a hidden area or just more interesting level geometry with stuff going on. Maybe add some side quests. I actually think all 3 games need this. Like, the Kitten Thieves was an amazing idea that no other role in this series has, and I love that fetch quest. I want more of it. Also, upgrading keyblades would be extremely fun, and make challenge runs more worth it, and make the Kingdom Key more viable in early games since you don't get a lot of keyblades until like halfway through the game. Along with that, I'd live for some keyblade form changes, but that's a bit of a stretch and I think you all would kill me for that. I will say that I think having Donald and Goofy having team attacks similar to Fusion Fire and Union Spin would be a good way to carry that over to both so that the combat has a bit of flair to it. Also, gummy shits we don't have to do everything in. That'd be really cool. Again, 3 did this pretty well. One last thing before I move on to the individual problems. More playable characters. Let us play as Riku in the Realm of Darkness at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1, or even just pull a rechain and tell the game from his POV near the end. In KH2, let us play as Roxas during the Dive into the Heart sequence. Or hell, let us play as Lingering Will to feel how strong Sora is from a boss's perspective. Alright, now that all my general thoughts on that are out of the way, let's look into the nitty-gritty of each of them. Okay, so we all know 1 has teething problems, like the early game jump is garbage and is only improved after the first half of Monstro, and that the mash X strategy is viable even on low-level Proud mode. Like, yeah, we all know that. So let's work on fixing that. I think that magic should be handled like 2 and 3. It should be a singular bar and the cure spell uses all of it so that you can't abuse it. Second Chance, Once More, and Leaf Bracer are also there as well, so you're not completely fucked. And this has nothing to do with anything, but I would love to have the command menu be themed around the worlds like they are in every other game in the series. I don't know, it's just nice, and when it's not there, you miss it. Or at least I do, I don't fucking know. Oh, also a treasure section in the journal since it's impossible to tell where you have or haven't found a chest, and it's frustrating. Every other game has a simple, straightforward way to finding chests, and it's great. I think if we had a snappier, more responsive moveset like 2, with the Flash of 3, it would be a good starting place. Sora having a very blunt 3-hit combo makes sense, and is alright for his first outing, but again, this is a remake, so we have to make the combat a bit more varied. Like, maybe letting magic be thrown into a combo like in 2 or 3, or having the summons be not functionally garbage. The only summons I ever used are Bambi for the MP recovery, Mushu for the stupid pink monkey Heartless in Traverse Town, and Tinkerbell for late game hard bosses. Which, thank God 3 didn't have that, because it breaks combat. Yes, there is the Kupo coin, but it's a one-time use, and you have to buy it every time for 400 money. So again, it's there, but you can't abuse it. Hell, I've used Tink to cheese Lingering Will at one point, so yeah, kinda broken. Speaking of magic, I think having the summons come from their own gauge in this game would make way more sense rather than just your magic gauge. It could be akin to the focus and dry gauge from 2 and 3, but now it's dedicated to something other than magic. Also, again, and I know I'm harping on this, but magic should work like in KH2 and 3, where it's not these big bars and it's just a singular bar that fills up with MP recharge and ethers. MP gaining abilities are still needed, but the way magic works here is just really confusing on your first go, and it needs to be brought up in quality. So, how I would go about fixing bosses? Well, first off, tone down the damage of early game bosses like the Trickmaster and Clayton, because that's annoying as shit. Also, for the love of God, give scan at the beginning of the game and replace that level up ability with like a strength or MP boost or an HP boost. I don't know. I do not understand why the final mix didn't do this. It should not have to be earned how to know what your enemy's health bar is. That's all I'm saying. It's whatever, we're moving on. So, the bosses, well, I think the mix we get of humanoid and heartless and giant bosses is really great. So I'm not really mad at the variety. I will say that I think they'd have to either require the rights to Tarzan again or just nix the world altogether. And if I had to pick one to replace it, it'd be like Beauty and the Beast, so that later when Beast comes back into the plot, it's less of a surprise and more of a, hey, fancy meeting you here, what's up kind of thing. Sort of what they did with Sephiroth in the Final Fantasy VII Remake. His original purpose was to be a surprise and shrouded in mystery, but in the remake, they're like, yeah, we know you know what he is, so let's just build him up the whole game because why the hell not? And Sephiroth was the final boss of that game, so it makes complete sense. But anyway, it gives us a reason to care about more Princesses of Heart than just Alice, since she really is the only one we directly interact with besides Jasmine. I think having that small change in the name of saving them a legal headache would make way more sense. My big thing with bosses is that they need to have a revenge value, and maybe not be so hard to hit that they kill you before you even do anything. You know, fuck that stomach fight, that's all I'm saying. Also, I'm completely down with Sora having an older voice in this game, seeing as going from KH1 Sora to Chain of Memory Sora is just jarring, so having an older Haley Joel Osment just voice him makes way more sense. I'm also okay with maybe introducing baby drive forms. Now, I'm not saying that we need to have them, but I think if we had something like a Heartbinder that changes Sora into a different stat layout with a different color palette for a limited time, that'd be really cool. I'm aware that sounds just like drive forms, but work with me here. Maybe if you get late game enough, there's one that could be in the style of KH2 Sora, so he hits harder and faster, but has less magic, and one like KH3 Sora where he does more flashy stuff with floatier combat and maybe more magic. I really like the situation commands in 3. I think they added a lot to the combat and can be refined in the remake to make people like them even more. Or they could be turned off for the true experience. I don't know, it's up to you. Another idea for the Heartbinders is that you get 3 more. They each represent a moment in the story that ties into someone you've met and made a bond with. One formed from Donald, which gives you Zal level spells for a limited time. One from Goofy that gives you more defense and access to moves like Kingdom of Hearts, which, bravo Nomura, you've made the meme the series has been called by non-fans since its release into an actual in-universe name, and it is very clever and you get a cookie. And I don't know, the last one I think should come from the Final Fantasy crew that makes you look more like Cloud or something. Maybe one from Riku and Kairi, like you get one half for Riku when you beat him in Hollow Bastion, you get the other half when you meet up with Kairi, when you get Oathkeeper, stuff like that. That could be really fun. My overall point with this game is that it needs tweaks to everything, and that's not a bad thing. The game is just 20 years old. It needs a bit of a refinement to be in the modern age. It's still a great game as it is, but to go forward for a remake on it, I wanted to try to modernize it a little bit. The charm is still there, the still different aesthetic is going to be the same, the wackier level design, but combat-wise needed to be tweaked a lot. But 2 has something weird about it. Okay, so this game is great. Its combat is near perfect, its bosses are wonderful. However, its level setup is boring and not even fun to look around for extras. First of all, the 2-visit system makes sense on some level, but the only reason to keep it in the remake would be because it was there initially. I think if they changed the order of the world visits and maybe replace 2 of them, I don't know, do what you want. Pride Land sucks, didn't do the return visits, and make the movie plot progress organically with the middle of the story arc boss fight being a thing. Like for instance, we have Beast's Castle. This story only exists the way it does for the boss fights. The ballroom and the bridge are the only 2 rooms in the place that matter. So if we move Beast's Castle to after the raid on Hollow Bastion, we get to have a harder version of the Possessor and Anti-Beast, and then kill Zaldin in like the village or something. I don't really care, just somewhere open enough to accommodate his moveset. We could honestly have Olympus, Land of Dragons with a few tweaks, and maybe Agrabah before Disney Castle, and nothing would change. It also leads to more level design changes that make things interesting now that you're not seeing the worlds in bursts, and therefore aren't noticing the barren level design until you go back for chests and the like. We could also move Pirates to be where Agrabah was, and then put a new world where Pirates was. I don't know which one, they're smart people, they'll figure it out, but put one there to maybe be a Tonebreaker, or simply take the place of Pride Lands to make it deal with the whole Destiny aspect that Pride Lands did. A movie from around that time that fits this idea, at least to me, is Return to Neverland, since it deals with Wendy's daughter learning to be a kid, and Sora is just a big old dope. That or just do The Great Mouse Detective for a fun adventure story.
Smile, everyone.
Beast's Castle would also sit nicely where Pride Lands was, and is now only unlocked after Hollow Bastion, so that you can level up more, and killing Zaldin would kick off the finale more, since now not only is Demyx dead, but so is their heaviest hitter. After that, we have the Twilight Town as one visit that we learn that Kairi has been there and that she has been kidnapped, and then we can go kick some ass. Why this isn't the case, and that there's like half the game left to waffle around with before we go get her ass, I don't fucking know. But again, that's just a me thing. Okay, so with the big things out of the way and the story taken care of, I need to mention one thing. I hate the Lingering Will. It's no secret I hate this boss. I have an entire video explaining how KH3 did this exact same concept better with a different sort of boss. I think this boss is one of the most annoying things in the series has ever come up with. The nod to future games is a nice touch, but for the love of God, I should not have to memorize his exact revenge value and then hope I'm quick enough to maybe get out of this alive. No, I do not accept that. Also, fuck his ultimate. I had to look up how to avoid this damn thing because the last attack, no matter what you do, will kill you if you've been caught in it before, which should not be possible, but second chance and once more. So again, I say, fuck you, good sir. My point about this guy is fuck him, nerf him, or maybe just don't make it so that he has all the health bars. What is the point of that? His damage output wouldn't bother me so much if he had like half the health. It would make it way easier if you wanted to tackle him on like standard or proud. There's an idea. Make his health bar difficulty oriented. If you're on critical, you have full or 3/4 health bars. Proud, 3/4 to half. Standard, half to 1/4. And beginner is locked at 1/4 because that is way fairer and makes it a way better learning curve. He does the same shit he does now, but at least it doesn't fuck over everyone who wants to play the fight casually. So yeah, those are some of the thoughts I've had to implement to a remake of these 2 games if they ever happen. Tweak KH1 on the whole and add the heart binders for some combat upgrades. Just make the games more enjoyable to play once through, more so than they are now on a story layout standpoint. They're great as they are, but they could still be improved is my point. I probably just pissed a lot of you off saying all this, but hey, you came to see me. What'd you expect? I will say that I'm happy to discuss these changes in the comments if you all want, but until then, my name is Chris, and good God, I can't wait for the next game's announcement. That's gonna be a hell of a ride.